Liberals funding hate through the United Nations. I'm Brian Lilley with the Rebel.media. A month ago, we saw Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stand with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in the House of Commons foyer and declare that Canada was back, recommitted to the UN. It was a love fest between the two.
Prime Minister Trudeau has declared Canada's recommitment to the United Nations. I am here to declare that the United Nations enthusiastically welcomes this commitment. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
We'll wrap up the day with a dinner to honour Mr. Ban and his many impressive accomplishments while at the UN. I want to take this time to thank the Secretary-General for being here today. Canada looks forward to a strengthened relationship with the United Nations in coming years. Merci.
But what kind of organization has Canada recommitted to? That's the question I raised at the time, and with new evidence coming forward this week, it's worth asking again. We are funding hatred of Jews, the isolation of Israel, with the actions of Canada's new Liberal government. I'm not exaggerating here. But let's remember, Canada never left the UN under the Harper government. They still pledged Canada's support to the UN World Food Program to feed the starving of the world. Canada was still second only to the United Nations in resettling UN refugees. But the overtly political organizations championed by the Liberals, well, those were cut back or cut off, and instead of praising the UN at every turn, the Harper government would from time to time question the UN and its agencies. Not Trudeau, but he should be. So now we have new examples of the United Nations Relief and Work Agency funded schools in Gaza pushing hatred of Jews. This time it's with a celebration, a ceremony with little kids under 10 honoring those that stabbed and ran over Jews in Israel. Maybe you didn't hear about this because there wasn't enough media attention, but starting late last summer into the fall, there was a push to have Palestinians stab Jews. This was pushed by the likes of Hamas. It even made its way down to schools run by the UN, schools that, thanks to Justin Trudeau and his pledge to re-engage with the UN, his promise to send $15 million a year to the UN Relief and Works Agency, well, we're now funding this garbage. The Harper government cut off funding to UNRWA over just this sort of thing. They redirected the money to groups like the Red Cross to make sure Canadian foreign aid money was actually doing humanitarian work. Things we'd all support, like feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, sheltering the homeless. But now we're funding hatred once again. There are plenty of examples like this. A book could be written. In fact, books have been written, documentaries made on all the problems with UNRWA. It's why I launched the petition, stophelpinghamas.ca. We shouldn't be funding this. Nor should we as a country be silent while the UN Human Rights Council pushes an anti-Israeli academic to a top post. That's right, UN Watch has reported that Penny Green, a British academic who is ranked #1 on a short list to be the investigator of Israel. Why is that a problem? Let's look at what the UN, or UN Watch, has on Green. They say Green has compared Israel to ISIS, lamenting that the US and UK have not yet started bombing Israel for its massacres. By recommending Penny Green to investigate a country that she seeks to bomb and boycott, the UN makes a mockery of its own selection criteria of objectivity and impartiality. The United Nations continues to attack one country more than any other in the world, more than all the countries of the world combined, and that country is, of course, Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. Now, I would prefer that Canada leave the UN because it's an organization that will not reform itself, an organization that gives rogues and dictators equal standing with democratically elected governments, that appoints North Korea to disarmament committees even as they try and get the bomb, that puts Syria and Saudi Arabia on human rights bodies. So why on earth would we support it? But if we will not leave, we should at least be asking tough questions, very tough questions. Instead, we've got a prime minister who's a fanboy of the UN, one who's happy to announce that Canada's back when the only thing Canada is actually back doing is undermining Israel and funding hate. If you oppose that, then please sign the petition at stophelpinghamas.ca. Stophelpinghamas.ca, then spread the petition on Facebook, on Twitter, by email, any way you can. Let your fellow Canadians know the truth of what's happening.